How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today's video is a client interview with a client of ours named Kat. Now, Kat joined our program at zero. She had some experience in portrait photography and wanted to take that and show people how to grow their portrait photography business. Now, whether you decide to become a client of ours or not, that's not necessarily the point of these videos. This is just all about learning how somebody else is succeeding with their business. And if you decide to become a client, awesome. We can really speed that up for you. So what you'll learn is that Kat obviously she shows people how to grow portrait photography businesses, but you'll learn how our marketing system felt the most aligned for her, our sales process, kind of taught her how to actually enroll these clients. You'll hear how she had 35 sales calls her first month, didn't close a single one because she wasn't really doing it like we show. And then she kind of made some adjustments, found a better way of doing things, and closed out 4 months later. She had a $70,000 month in contracts, right? So 70 grand in sales, and 25 of that was paid a month of, right? Which is just insane to go in 4 months from zero to that level. So enjoy this interview with Kat, who has become a great client of ours and a lot of fun to work with. And so you can enjoy sort of a sneak peek into what it looks like to become a client of ours and yeah, join our community. So enjoy. Cool. All right, Kat, welcome.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I mean, you've been doing such an amazing job. How could I not? You know what I mean? It's really cool. It's really, really cool what you've been able to achieve. So yeah, just tell people kind of your story and everything and kind of what's gone down.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So I teach portrait photographers, and I've been teaching on other platforms for a couple of years, and it was time to like go out on my own and create this program, but my reach was really limited. And I came across you guys and like devoured your YouTube content. And then, came on board with CB in January. So that was right now, like being recorded 4 months ago. And yeah, like the framework has been really terrific and just like ramping up and expanding that reach and finding my footing, but wasn't without trials for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, with portrait photographers, it's about sustainability and being able to have access to people who are ready to do the work. Like that's what I'm here for. Sustainability all day.
It's awesome. It's really good. Yeah, tell people about where you were before you joined and what things have looked like now. And as long as you're willing to talk numbers, that's always really inspiring for people.
Sure. So I mean, I've been mentoring photographers for about 6 years now in like small mastermind situations. And
Mm,
when I came on with CB, like even that first month, I took like 35 calls, closed zero.
none. I remember that. I remember that.
That was a rough month. But like I started getting some traction in February, and the stuff that I learned through the framework and on the calls about like even pricing my program and where to place it and making offers for people, like that was from your influence and being able to be like, okay, and navigate this space to where people can be invested, still worth my time for showing up, their time, they're finding results like crazy fast.
Mm,
And we closed April. I had a revenue. It was funny when I set the revenue goal for April, it was at 70K. And what I should have said was 70K cash in. But we came in like just under 4K shy, of committed revenue for, over the course of the next 10 months.
Nice.
So May is actually like with payment plans is looking at passive income, my first month where there's just passively 10K on top of the calls that I'm taking. So
Nice.
that was a really fun thing to see like, oh, all
Yeah.
right, now
It's
we're
a great feeling
stacking.
having those splits come in. It just starts to kind of like stack on you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's like I don't actually have to like go out there like at least for like a couple months you kind of have like a base of like money coming in. You know what I mean? So you don't have to get new clients. Yeah, it's awesome. 70K revenue and then cash I imagine is like what, like 15-ish, something like that, 20-ish. What was the cash
25,
for April? It was what?
20,
25?
25.
Nice. Sick. That's awesome. Okay, so 25 cash, 20K rev. That's great. That's awesome. Um, yeah, because I only knew the rev number. You know what I mean? So I actually didn't know the cash
Oh,
number. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, it's new information. That's good though. I mean, look, like what do you feel like what do you feel like you took away? Because I mean you're coming into the program with a lot of experience. You already know how to work with your people. You know what I mean? So it's not like we showed you that stuff. I really think that maybe what we should do is just the marketing and sales end of things, the
Sure.
positioning. I'd love to know like more about what you actually gained from the program that led to the successes that you now have.
Well, it's interesting. Everybody, with the way this framework kind of runs, right? Like we're in the DMs, we're having conversations. The number one is always lead gen.
Mm-hmm.
Always like, I need more people. I need more people. And the same is true in the coaching space is like, how do I access a wider audience?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about CB that I love metrics all day. And like not in that, well, I guess kind of in that like weird nerdy like numbers
Yeah.
situation, but like being able to see the transition of I spent this much money and this was the output,
Mm-hmm.
right? But still having each of those columns represent a milestone or a pillar in the process. So I can see like, hey, you know what? Like my cost per follow is pretty high, or
Yep.
this DM is costing me more than it should. Like, what's going on there? And
Yep.
so I know what to address instead of just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping I get it right.
Totally.
Right.
Totally.
I have that path and that way to measure those results, I think has probably been the most powerful.
It's awesome. Tell people the difference between because the first month you booked 35 calls, which is a great first month, but then like no closes. The difference between how you were running your sales calls then and how you're running your sales calls
Ooh,
now. That's a
yeah.
big thing that I think a lot of people get stuck on, even in our like really speaking to people like in our program. You know what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
think some people really get stuck there, and we really do our best, but some people they just can't get out of their own way on that. So I'd love to learn more about what happened there for you.
Let's see. In January with the zero closes, well, first I wasn't really qualifying well in the DMs.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So not just understanding their commitment level, but their desired outcome. I came in and was
Mm-hmm.
just set anybody and everybody,
Yep.
right? Without like really realizing who I was talking to. So a lot of the people that I was connecting with on those calls were like just not in a position to invest in themselves. They were there for pro tips,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and then on the calls, it was like, a lot of the BioLink bookings that we get are really like people that are just looking for free advice.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and when I shifted from like, yes, I want to help people on those calls, but
Mm-hmm.
I can't position myself as their mentor in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I have to show them the disparity and
Mm-hmm.
learning how to do that and still be compassionate and kind and present
Mm-hmm.
um, really was kind of an art in and of itself because you have to be present with them on the calls to get to know their situation instead of
100%.
sign up here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's good. We interviewed, I think Mike in the community. This is like about a week ago now. I put it I as I'm recording this, it uploaded yesterday. And he was talking about, and I think this is really the key thing, passing off from us to you guys or even amongst each other, the ability to really own the call, own the frame of it, and then know exactly who you're looking for, and really lead the call. And Mike said it a cool way. He was like, instead of letting the prospect take up space on the call, and I'm just kind of like working around them, hoping that they buy, really having like that like step by step, this is kind of how you do it thing. And now you even have people in the community. I think you even have people being like, hey, can I see your like sales calls? Which is kind of cool.
right,
I think you put that post up, which was really helpful. And I appreciate you doing that. So it's like, but people just start to see like, oh man, okay. Like I can't just like have somebody come on a sales call and then just like answer a bunch of questions and hope they buy. It's like,
right.
that's not it. It's not it at all. It's a whole different science to it? So yeah, it was cool watching it kind of click for you. I remember you went on to, I think it was one of Ty's sales reviews, and that was after the month, and mixed the setting thing with the closing thing. Because you had to like obviously qualify more, like you said, but then it starts to click. You're like, oh, okay. Like I remember like watching, you're like, oh, this is starting to make sense now, and then
Now.
it like
Yeah.
it kind of
Yeah.
clicked in your head, and it was really satisfying to watch because like I knew because we knew you could do it. Like when you first joined the program, all the experience you had was like we knew it could happen. So sometimes it just takes a sec. It takes a few calls, and we've got clients who book 2 or 3 calls and they don't go well, and then they're like, ah, screw this, And then here
Right.
you are,
Right.
35 in. So there's something to be said about the level of like, no, I'm all in. I'm gonna figure this out. I know that, and we had a call last Friday about like and this is just such a key trait that we see amongst the people who do really well. It's just like a humility and a curiosity. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
they're not closing. There's something I'm doing wrong. I'm curious maybe what that could be, and just that exploration and willingness to ask and then have a call reviewed and everything. It's like, yeah, take a look.
Well,
And I was like, yo,
curiosity,
yeah.
like 1000% curiosity, but having the responsibility for it.
Mm,
But, I can take a look, but I'm averaging around like 35, 40 calls a month, right?
mm-hmm,
So, and in addition to running my studio, in addition to teaching, in addition to managing all of the content creation for the studio and the coaching, but like there's a lot
freaking
of moving
hustling it
parts.
out here.
And like at the end of April, I was like almost grateful for the ad going sideways. Like I was pissed about it, right? I was angry,
Yeah,
but I was also like, I need a break,
yeah, yeah.
because it really is like 7 days on. And because I'm
Mm-hmm,
responsible for that, people are, depending on me, in
mm-hmm,
addition to me being able to live my life on the terms that I've set
mm-hmm,
as my life.
mm-hmm.
And having that responsibility combined with that curiosity, like ego aside, man, like, and I think I said this on one of our first calls, was I can sell a photo shoot all day long, but selling coaching outside of the spaces I was selling in was like learning another language
Yeah,
altogether.
it really is. It really is. We've got actually a sales rep in our company right now that's kind of being like groomed up. And he was telling us, he's like, dude, like I never realized how little I knew about like how to get somebody to buy something until like I started working here. And I'm like, man, like it is a science, you know? I mean,
Mhm.
like, man, I just have to dude, I've taken like 5,000 sales calls. Like, I've been doing this for like 6 years, you know? So how to ask, and like, we invent programs, test it, sell it on like the second call. You know what I mean? Because it's just like how to get somebody to admit like they've got a problem, how to get somebody to admit they need
Mhm.
help, how to get somebody to admit like, you know, I'm not where I want to be and I don't know what I don't know in order to get there, you know, and getting people to make those admissions to you, even though they just found you 2, 3 days ago. You know, that's a whole thing, and man, it's so cool seeing you pick it up because like when somebody can pick that up and they have that skill, because it really is like a skill and kind of like a worldview too. It's like man, like they can go and they can do freaking anything. Because like now, if you wanted to start like let's say if you want to start a software for photographers, it's like okay, where are you now? Why don't you want to be there anymore? Where do you want to get? Why do you want to get there? What's stopping you from getting there yourself? Hear those answers. Cool. I've got a software that's gonna help you get there. You know what I mean? Like you go selling
Yeah.
anything. You know what I mean? So it's really, really cool to watch. And another point of curiosity for me is just how you're handling all the workload. Like you talk a little bit of it being kind of stressful. I'd love to hear kind of more about that, just like the real stuff. You know what I mean? Because when people shoot up, you know, sometimes it's maybe glorified. You know, I'd love to hear more
Oh,
about like what's going on in your head and everything.
sure. Well, because, we come into this and we're like, okay, that first milestone is like 10K, but really like I want to 10X that 10K.
Yeah,
Right. And like,
yeah,
but with that comes the responsibilities and embodying the person who's in charge of managing that 100K.
yep.
And so it like I am something I preach to my students a lot is like, look, you've got to get into a very intimate relationship with your calendar. It's
Mm-hmm.
even your mindset around that can't be, I'm tied to it. Like
Mm-hmm.
that calendar is what supports you getting to the priorities that you've set for your life. Because look, time's more valuable than money.
100%.
And we all look like, well, it didn't cost me anything. It's just my time. And I'm like, well, if I start looking at my hourly rate for what I charge, like, is that worth that dollar amount to me?
Yeah,
And being
yeah,
responsible for that and still managing, like family time with my husband, my
yeah,
brother's coming up to visit today,
yeah,
like, and having that capacity alongside
yeah,
these calls and being in DMs. We
yeah.
brought on a setter last month and she's been really terrific in helping me keep that momentum because I was in the DMs
Oh
for
man, yeah,
six
you need
years,
that at some point. Yeah. Have you
right?
watched the
And so
setter training we put out
next,
there yet? Have you seen that yet? Because I put it up.
oh, I haven't seen it yet.
You need to watch it for sure.
Okay.
Like you
Now I
really,
think
really
I
should.
saw that you posted about it, but I haven't gotten to
Yeah, because
actually.
I mean, you know, because we were like, yeah, get into Skilling Blueprint. We'll show you. Like, people need it earlier than that, and so it's like, let's just show you how to do that because it's like we sort of realize there's people like yourself that you kind of just need it. You know, and you watch it, and it's gonna help you really cement that relationship. I think
Oh,
and
cool.
really make it very consistent, and very
Awesome.
reliable. And so we've got some stuff that like how to train them, how to like ramp them up and everything, all that stuff. Yeah, it's all in there. So, well, cool. So 70K rev, 25 cash, and a single month, 4 months in. Man, looking back, like how does that feel to have achieved that?
Oh man, that's awesome. Because
Yeah.
now I think what I love about it is like I can see a clear path, right? Like if I look at each tab for each month, there's
Yep.
clear growth
Yep.
and I can see, what to focus on, how to improve, how to strengthen, coming back in that Kaizen space. And like, okay, so it only can grow as long as I pour water in that yard. You know what I mean?
100%.
Uh, so, I mean, there will be bottlenecks and challenges that I wasn't facing in like the 20K month.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like, okay, Anthony had texted me, one of the coaches, and he said, like, what are you anticipating? And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, anticipating bottlenecking with these calls, right? And like put a call out for closers.
Mm-hmm.
But then I realized I wasn't ready for it yet
Yeah.
because I had one ad go that ad spend go sideways. Like they would have
Mm-hmm.
been sitting there like, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah, and you really
so,
you need 4 to 6 calls a day really to fill a close like for a full time. Because you have a
right.
part-time closer, they're gonna suck, and you're gonna have the same responsibility as a full-time closer with them sucking butt. Like
Uh,
you really need to get to a point where you can totally fill them up, and they get 10% of cash. It's full time for them. So at the point where you're doing group and your setter's full time, your ad is ramped, then you're ready for a closer. But you can hire earlier, and we've seen people do it, and they just build a business that's as stressful, like if there is much stress once you get there, as doing 100 or 200 grand a month, but they're doing like 30. You know what I
oh,
mean? It's like, so yeah, that's the
yeah,
problem with that. You know what I mean? So we warn a lot on that and totally get it. Personal constraints, you got stuff going on, husband, other business, whatever, but
yeah,
got to hire on business constraints,
yeah.
and so it's a freaking grind though. Like it's so funny, like preaching to the choir, like literally this morning, we had this thing where like my wife thought I had the baby. Turns out I didn't realize that I had the baby. I thought she had the baby. But I had all these meetings coming up. I got like closing team meeting, center team meeting, just like all this stuff. But that's just it. You know what I mean? And the trick is I just think being grateful for the fact that we're fighting a fight that's so beneficial. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
like there's people out there that are fighting fights that are nowhere near this lucrative. They're working 10 times harder, have way more
Yeah.
stress, and no path out. You know what I mean? At least you've got like a really strong path out to like building like real wealth. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
that like drives me because it's like I just feel super grateful to be in the seat that I'm in where it's like at any point we can command new clients, bring in new people. I remember when you first enrolled, like I remember the ad you came from, all this stuff. It's like such a system. You know what I mean? And it's so cool. It's like really really cool. Um, so that's the thing that drives me is it's just like man, like how could I not like make the absolute most of what's sitting in front of me? I can't speak for you, but that's for me. Like we're doing this call today
Well,
in the CB on like getting to 6 figures a month, and that's really what drove
right.
me to get there. It's just like, how could I not? Like, it's such a rare opportunity. Once you kind of get that
Well, and I think
traction, yeah.
too that traction allows you, and this is kind of the way I look at it with my photographers, right? Like when you can empower people in themselves
Mm-hmm.
through a proven system and process
Mm-hmm.
to be more and impact lives in the way that they're here to impact the world.
Mm-hmm.
It only serves to grow. Like if it deflates, it's because of me. It's not
Mm-hmm.
because of them. It's not because something's broken. It's because of my focus and my desire to help people be more.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
how could I not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm driven by the exact same energy right now. I think back when I was a single Pringle, didn't have a wife, didn't have a kid, all this stuff, I was just driven by like just like self-achievement. And like that's honestly a really good thing to be driven by too. Just like prove it to myself kind of thing. Which I
Mm-hmm.
still kind of have a bit of that. Um, yeah, I actually probably have a lot of that, but it's also just a lot of gratitude. You know what I mean? It's a lot of like, holy cow, I'm so grateful that I figured this stuff out. Because like man, like there's people out there that are just like working as hard as I am, and they're
Mm-hmm.
coming home to as much stress with a new baby and all this like, but like there's not like a path to like, yeah, I'm looking at like an 8-figure wealth level. Like I know how to get there.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like it's so clear. And it's just like, man, like
Well,
so
and you know,
grateful for it.
I was a bartender for a long time. I worked in food and bev for 12 years.
Yeah, I think you
And
told me that once. It makes it, I feel like you kind of have that like bartender like vibe too. I don't know if that's like a good or bad thing, but like you're like you just the way you hold yourself, like, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a vibe for sure.
Yeah.
But like, you know, you go in and some days you make $30 and some days you make 300.
Hmm.
And like I loved the social aspect of it, but I often refer to that time as like when I'd put my life on hold.
Hmm.
And there was no path to anything but being what we call the lifer.
Hmm.
And I remember sitting down. Now I was sort of, I don't know, exited from the food and bev space
Yeah.
uh at 35 because I was too old.
Hmm.
And I knew I didn't want to be a 50-year-old lugging kegs. I knew I didn't want that. But there wasn't a path and you hustle so hard, right? Like you're on social, you're moving, you're inviting people, and like it is a super fun gig. And it can be really rewarding. Like there's a lot of physical exertion. Um, but at the end of the day, there's no path out. Like the
There's no
ceiling
escape
for that is
velocity there.
manager. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like your ceiling's right here always.
Yeah.
And the turnover's so high, like you're always on the chopping block, no matter what. Doesn't matter your seniority or any of it. Like it can all be
Mm-hmm.
gone in a second.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things I love about coming through the photo space and into the coaching space is there isn't a ceiling.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a skill set and knowledge ceiling and a ethic, work ethic ceiling. But I
Yeah.
heard this thing, it was like your gratitude always mirrors your work ethic. And I really liked
Mm,
that. That was really good. So it's
that
like
is good.
if you're not working that hard, it's 'cause you kind of just aren't that grateful for it. You know, it's like and it's gonna find somebody who is grateful for it, and they're gonna have your lunch. like like man, that, I was like really that like stood out to me. You know, because I've had that happen before
Future.
where I kind of just got complacent, and then I had like people come in and like kind of like do really well, and like beat me, like take clients even and stuff like that. And it's just that's just how it is. Like if you're grateful for it, you steward it, you give it your best. You know what I mean? And just over time, it just grows. And I think it was Ange on a group call. I'm sure you know Ange. You know, she was like, "How do you like? What does it mean like to balance?" Because she was like, "How do I balance ambition, like intense ambition, and like humility and stuff?" Because we're talking about humility and
Oh
curiosity.
yeah,
That like, yeah.
yeah.
And I was like, man, if you're grateful for it, there's a lot of humility and gratitude. But if you're grateful for it, it means you're gonna take care of it, and like naturally, it's gonna grow. If you just like care about something, and so like when a plant has everything it needs, sun, soil, water, it just grows. You know, it's like you literally, if you put a ceiling on it, it'll just grow around that ceiling eventually. Take more time, but it'll grow around because it just has what it needs. You know, and so I think the components that you brought into CB that made it work for you was out the gate, you're just so ready to like do whatever it takes. You know what I mean? And it's just that
Yeah.
mindset of just like, man, just show me what the hell to do. I'm gonna
Yep.
do it. Like it's just like it's so potent, you know? And so we've actually made it like a part of our like sales process. Like we're like when we tell because you know, I'm sure on your sales calls now you like tell client stories and kind of help them see like what's possible. We make it very known, hey, this client had like a humility and a willingness to do whatever it took. So we don't actually use their situational
Mm-hmm.
things to relate. We use character trait things to relate. So that way they come into the program from a cold ad and everything like, okay, I need to have a humility and I have a willingness to do whatever it takes and like go all in. Because if you can do
That
that,
was
it
love
just
that.
works. You know what I mean? So back to I was talking about the sales rep ramping. He started to do that and he started to make way more sales. And yeah, he's on track for he should close out May at like 120 for us, which is awesome. Yeah. Yeah. That's like
Love
one of our three. Yeah. So sick, you know? So sick. So yeah, it's really cool. And I'll tell you this, like that season that you're in right now, I know you have like 6-figure month, multiple 6-figure month like ambitions. The things you're learning now, like it's just that stuff taught to a team. Like honestly, you know, that's it. So just stay in the trenches. Like you're learning everything you need to know to pass it down, you know, and that's when it gets really
it.
fun. Yeah. So it's not just
This is
25, you know what I mean?
fun.
It's not just 70, right? It's not just 25, not just 70. It's the map that you can pass down so others can do, 8 to 10 while your company does 150, 200, right?
Yeah,
So, a lot of reward there. You
that
don't get that
is.
with bartending.
Not unless it's some real interesting parties.
Yeah,
Uh,
totally. Totally. So, I mean, man, what's some advice for other people who may be listening to this, clients of ours, non-clients? Because a lot of people have ambitions of they're just like, man, if I just go full time, or man, if I just get hit 10.
yeah.
You came in with a very different attitude, and I think it's a choice, the attitude you come in with, and you chose to have that one. So it's like, what's the advice for people who are wanting to maybe, whether it's in CB, want to make the most of it, or aren't and have no intention of becoming a client because, we're all just here to learn. What would your advice be to people who are like trying to make coaching work for them? Maybe aimed at our clients in particular. You know what I mean? Because I think that maybe
You can't be on the fence, right?
go into
And
that.
now this could be true for any coaching program, right? But with something as specific as CB, right? Like this is how you have the conversation. These are the pieces to hit. This is how to build the ads. This is like how to convert and to qualify and all of these things. Like you can't be on the fence and be like, this won't work for me.
Mm,
I don't like doing it that way because
mm-hmm,
like there are no like boundaries being crossed from an ethics standpoint. It's all very straightforward and transparent and right. But people like to
mm-hmm,
cherry pick because they want to be a special unicorn. And you can't be a unicorn. Like it's not about being a unicorn. You learn the system, you learn the process. And once that piece is installed, you have proof of concept. Okay, that's when you can start elevating. But until you have proof of concept, like it took me 35 calls just in 1 month to say I didn't sell anything,
right.
and like I'm a pretty slow learner, but once I have
Yeah.
something, look out. Like I will
Yeah.
hit the gas.
Huh.
um but you can't cherry pick. It can't be like, well, I don't like it this way, I want to do it this way. Because if you cherry pick and try and tailor a piece of the process and you don't understand why it's in place, then you're already causing yourself to fail
Mm.
because you don't know why it's there. And each piece of the puzzle has a purpose. Does that make sense? Like you just
Yeah.
can't cherry pick. It's trust the process, go all in.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that because we try to say it with as much love and care as possible. But sometimes, people really think like I personally don't understand spending as much money as we charge for CB and then not like eating it up. But some people that
Right?
come in and they have this, they do kind of have that. They're like, well, I know you want me to do it that way, but I think I'm gonna do it this way. It's such a common theme among the clients who do well. Such a common theme. And I really try to be the sort of a guy who's very easy to follow and humble and like whatever. Like, man, this stuff just works. Like, and I just wish people understood like how simple it can be out the gate. So that's why we've been just drilling the humility piece. It makes me sound like I'm like a boot camp guy or something, but I'm not. It just be humble. Like we've figured this out. We've given you like such an amazing gift that's worth like way more than we charge, if you just do the work, and so but it's so cool you say that because like in every client interview that I've been conducting recently, it's been that. It's been versions of that. It's been, well, before I joined CB and for the first month, I kind of had a bunch of my own ideas and a bunch of stuff that I thought would work. And then the second month, I decided, you know what? That's not working. I'm wasting my time. This is really frustrating. I'm just going to listen to what it's telling me to do. And then I listened to what it's telling me to do, and then it started working. Just
Well,
like,
and sometimes you don't even, absorb what it, like the all and the everything right
yeah,
away. You're just
yeah,
hungry and you want to go.
that's true.
And
You're not quite ready for
because
it.
for me, I didn't even consider the qualification. I was just like, give me photographers, I'll make it work.
Yeah,
And
true.
that was all ego,
Yeah,
right? That was me just being like, whatever. If it's photo, like I'm all day. And
yeah, right.
no, that's not true.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's so cool. It's such a neat thing to get to do. And I'm sure you feel this way about your clients, and I'm sure all of our clients feel this way about their clients. It's actually our company, like mission statement is to like incrementally improve the human condition one client at a time, right? So it's like that's the whole idea, right?
Well,
And so it's like, our whole mission is to like make experts and leaders wealthy because we just think it's going to help reform education and make it what it's supposed to be, right? So, not to get too political, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
whatever, you know what I mean? And so it's like, yeah, that's our whole thing. And so it's so cool when somebody like yourself, who you have this real experience, you know what I mean? Um, can do this. I don't know. I'm just sitting in that. I'm just very, very grateful. So thanks, Kat. Thanks for joining the program and being a
Thank you.
success story.
Thanks for building
Yeah,
it.
of
This is awesome.
course. What does the future look like? Like, so where do you want to get? Kind of talk about like the next 6 to 12 months of like, what you're going to continue to build, and yeah, just where you want to be. Because I know 6 figures a month, stuff like that. It's kind of sounds like sort of the goal, but maybe a bit more about why and everything, and talking about the future. You know.
So my husband is a writer,
Mm-hmm.
and he's also got like a career day job.
Mm-hmm.
And with he's always been super supportive of me. Like before I started photo, I had another business. I launched the fourth micro Cura in the country.
Mm,
And the goal was to have that be retirement and then photo like pay my mortgage.
mm,
And so that was in 2012.
mm,
And from 2012, now we're in 24, right? He's always been crazy supportive. And like we've had our ups and downs and all of the things, but like it's his time to be able to walk away from that job that provides benefits and that income
wow.
so that he can focus on what he wants to do.
Mm.
So we're actually like prepping the house to sell. I'm actually surrounded by like boxes and
Oh,
craziness.
dang. Wow.
uh, but the goal is to actually go and buy a house for cash, and I can have a studio space and a teaching space in the house. He can work from home and actually like get his novels out and all of the things instead of, like working on Saturday from 10 until 1, I'm going to write. And, inspiration doesn't really work that way. So
Yeah.
giving the framework so that we can still have the dual income, right? And so that I can grow and scale, because I have other people who are finding success in my programs that want to get into the education track. So
Mm.
bring on with me and, scaling in that space uh, to empower more people in work that they love to do.
It's awesome. It's really, really good. I love it. And it's also doable. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's just math. You know what I mean? It's just like freaking the spreadsheet. You
I
know?
love this.
It's the best. And I love that you love it. It's another theme amongst the clients who win. They love that freaking spreadsheet that we give them. It's just like some people, they just will never appreciate like how much peace and clarity that thing can provide. You know what I mean? But the clients who win, they fill out the sheet. Like, and we have a sheet for our company right now, and it's like, all right, like this much is just this much spin, this many leads, this many close. Like it's just a machine. And I really just think that people just think it's too good to be true, that you literally can just turn on a lever and out the other side get clients profitably. I just think that they think it's too good to be true, because it's like it's really seriously not. And B, I used to think the exact same thing. I used to be on like a crazy content grind. Now, I mean, I grew my business, don't get me wrong, but it was ridiculous. You know what I mean? So, and I also was like putting on a bit of a mask as well, like kind of trying to be something I'm not. The nice thing about ads is it's just like I can put it out there. And what's cool about ads is it's actually given me the permission to just do whatever the hell I want organic. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I can just like literally, I mean, I made this like, half an hour long YouTube video about like how to find God's calling on your life and turn it into a business. Like I just want to talk about that stuff. Like, don't
I
even care if
love
it gets
it.
views. You know what I mean? I just want to talk about it. Like, don't even
Yeah.
care. Could care less, because our machine's just thriving, and it's just like, and what's cool about that is it gives you this, once you have the ads things working and content is no longer the way that you pay your bills, it's just a place for you to give. Now it makes it more potent even, because you can just put it out there and be like, because I got like, it's one of the lowest viewed videos on my channel ever. It's been up for 2 days, got 100 views. Like that never happens. It's terrible. I don't know what people don't hear about the topic, whatever. But I got more DMs about it than I've ever gotten, and I got a couple texts from friends, and I like, hey man, this was really good. You need to talk more about this. So it's like you can start to do that. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's
Well,
another reason why I started teaching the model the way I do. You know?
there's something to be said about what it is that you want,
Mm-hmm.
right? like when you feel called to share, to give, like that's not something that should be ignored for the sake of it's not part of my content strategy. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%.
And when we're so busy trying to figure out the money component of our survival and crossing the bridge into thrival, we often put up the blinders for those things that we are called to do. And those things
Mm-hmm.
that we're called to do are why
Mm-hmm.
we're here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So good. So I love ads. Seriously, it's just like, all right, like this is where I like make my money. This is where I like build relationships with people that turn into
yeah.
all kinds of things. Like our best hiring pool is my brand. Like TreyCockrum.com/jobs. I just put it in like the occasional YouTube description. I mention it here, like just then. I mention it here and there. Some people care, some people don't. And then we just get like we get a handful of applications a day. And she's like, I have unlimited people to bring into the company as long as I'm a good enough leader. Like, and I have this thought all the time, like the only cap right now on this whole thing, and this me being really vulnerable right now, is like I kind of suck as a leader of a team of about 10 or more. I
Mm.
just I just cannot get past that point of like getting people all the way bought into a thing and not having any like gossip or drama or BS. You know what I mean? Past about like
Oh,
10. You know what I mean? So I'm at like 10 max. And there's something about the way that I've operationally organized to the business that is creating a cap there. So that's why I'm just kind of looking around for solutions there. So like our max monthly rev is like $500,000 a month, which is,
okay.
I mean, honestly, a great place to be. But it's like at the same time, it's like I just know if I could figure out how to create the same amount of buy-in that I've experienced in the past with like 5 people, and it's just like this like for lifers, like we're like a band on tour kind of thing. It's what it feels like. At like 20 people, we could be doing 25, 30 million a year. You know what I mean? So just kind of getting past that, right? But anyway, that's what I'm dealing with. That's what I'm learning how to do, and I'm making massive sacrifices to learn that stuff at the moment, you
I
know.
wonder if
So
that has to do with having, like, because I know you have faith in your people or they wouldn't be there.
yeah.
Right. But it's also faith in their buy-in and their capacity for leadership to manage 10 people below them. Like, not to say it's an MLM, right? But like,
Yeah, no, I get you. That's my whole goal is to lead leaders from within, get them into leadership from within. Yeah, yeah.
interesting.
So I 100% agree. I mean, that's a part of the problem was I had like outside leadership for a minute. And it's like that's
Mm,
bad. That was stupid. I need to go back in there and get my hands dirty and get in there again, and then pick my leaders from within again. And so
set the values. Yeah.
yeah, just takes patience and grit and callous and all that stuff. You know what I mean?
And curiosity, Trey.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I couldn't be happier for you, Kat. I'm super happy that you picked us. I really get this sense that whoever you'd have picked, you'd have figured it out. But I'm happy that we got to be the people that kind of gave you that push of like, hey, here's a really good working system, and here's what we know works across a lot of different people and the data that we've got. So I'm just happy you're here and excited to keep watching you win. I mean, man, it just it with the setter closer stuff to get to 6 figures a month, it gotta be full time. They have to be. You gotta get there, and it's a bit of a leap, but man, if you can get there, there's no reason you're not at that point, you
Oh
know,
yeah. No, I will.
so yeah, yeah. I'm excited to watch it happen. So
Thank thank
cool.
you.
Yeah,
CV's brilliant. Yeah.
yeah. It's heart and soul. Ton of fun. Well, all right, thanks for being here. I'll wrap up the recording and then we can hang out a little bit. So cool. Thanks a ton.